Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. So welcome to this session of Business Unusual. We're having it with our wonderful facilitator, Idris Bello. Idris is someone that I've admired for a really long time. He is an award-winning strategist. He has years of experience in supporting startups, supporting entrepreneurs. He's one of the founders of Loftyinc, and he has been really, really active in voicing out opinions and support for the startup ecosystem in Nigeria. He'll be taking us through this session on mindset shifts to prepare you for this current business environment that we are facing. We would all accept that with the pandemic and with the shifts in the business and economic and social environment, it's really, really important that we review the way our businesses operate. And these sessions were designed to help us do that. We'll be having different facilitators I'll be taking us through. And today, like I said, we have Idris. Idris has a lot to teach. Idris has a lot of experience. Advise that you pay attention. You ask questions if you have any. During this session, everyone is going to be muted so that there's not a lot of disruption. If you have comments or questions, leave it in the chat box, and Idris will be checking from time to time, and he will respond to a few of them. But the people that sent in their questions ahead of time, we're truly grateful. He's going to respond to some of them as well. When the session is going on, as you learn and as something really, really resonates with you, feel free to tweet, use the hashtag Business Unusual with VP. We'll put the hashtag in the comment as well, and have a wonderful session and engage as much as possible. So Idris, I'm going to take it over to you, and then you can take the session. Thank you so much once again.
Sure. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule of sleeping and Zooming and Netflixing to join us. We appreciate that. For some of you, you've been in lockdowns for weeks, some days, some months. So thank you for taking our time to join us. Every dark side has its good side. So for instance, a lot of people have never seen me with my hair in the past 10, 15 years. So this is the lockdown. I've kept my hair. So there are good sides to everything. So what I intend to do over the next couple of minutes, half hour or more, is basically to speak on the topic mindset shift for businesses in these COVID times and beyond. And what I've done is I've taken in some questions earlier, which has informed the presentation. But over the course of the presentation, I intend to do three things. Firstly, I intend to basically impress upon you how important it is that you have to have a mind shift. But a lot of people still don't realize that yet. So I intend to impress that on you. The second one is that having realized that need, I intend to give you two tools to actually make that mindset shift. First one is basically what I call repurposing. I will go through that. And the second one is actually around scenario creating. And how do you create your scenarios for the different eventualities. Again, my name is Idris Bello, founding partner at Loftyinc Capital Management and founder at Innovation Hub. I'm very grateful to the good folks, good friends at Venture Platform who have put this together, and among several other amazing things they are doing to support the Nigerian effort during the COVID crisis. Okay, we'll go ahead. So we probably all know this. The impact of the current crisis globally has been immense. So it's not just a Chinese thing or an American thing or a Nigerian thing, it's all over the world. And we've seen this, right, in the effects on the stock exchanges all over the world, right? And when you compare the impact, for instance, to past crises we've had in the world, from the financial crisis of 2008. You look at the dot-com bubble for in the late 90s, right? For those who were born or not born. And you now compare the dip when you had a worst week this year, it's immense. And the sad thing about this, it's global. It's not just one place, right? And again, look everywhere. China, Japan, look at what their good forecasts were before this virus hits, right, globally, and see these are the revised ones as March 2. These are even outdated right now. Every day you create a plan and it's getting outdated, right? And so the question is, how do you deal with this as a business, small business, big business? And when we come closer home to Africa, right, it's been predicted that it's going to make poverty worse and more endemic on the continent. And because a lot of countries were already struggling, South Africa, for instance, was already in recession before this hit. Nigeria's had its own challenges when you combine it with the oil crisis, right? So all over the continent, this is going to get worse. And so the question is, what do you do? So how have companies responded so far? So we've seen a lot of positive responses from big companies and small companies who are leveraging their capabilities for mass production to respond to the crisis. So from the supply chain giants to the fashion giants who have now repurposed their utilities and assets to manufacture masks, sanitizers, face shields, right? So those who were previously known as just as just auto manufacturers, and who have now brought the ability to manufacture ventilators, respirators, and the rest. So we see the world is retooling and it's redeploying resources to combat. And even locally, right, we see a lot of responses, right, from the VP team, from CC Hub, from Innovation Hub, from different players locally who are also helping the government to respond to this. So we've seen a lot of response, and that's great. And so as gloomy as the picture is also actually, within it also lies opportunities for businesses, right? Because it levels the playing ground. What crisis like this does is actually create a new normal. It changes the fundamentals that we've always assumed were fundamental. And we've seen this in the story of startups that were previously created during the 2008 crisis, when we had Airbnb and Uber during the SARS pandemic, closer home in Nigeria. And then I was born during the 2014 Ebola crisis, around that time, and Flutterwave during the Nigerian economic recession. So we've seen a lot of good come out of the bad, and that's why, as we're looking at this from a gloomy perspective, we also have to ensure that we're also keeping our focus on the opportunities that crises like this on heart. Okay, so how do you get a new mindset? So let me do it, actually see whether people are still with me. So are we still on? Good. Okay, so I'm going to be checking in from time to time just to ensure I'm not losing anyone. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to get slide back up. Can you still see the slide? Okay. Okay, so going back. Let's see. Let me be sure I'm sharing the slide. Just 1 minute. Okay, yeah, I think the deck one. No worries, I'm going to share the deck again. I think it doesn't like me checking on you. Okay, present now, window. Okay, so she should be back seeing the slide now. So how do you approach the current crisis with a new mindset? And so I'm taking this slide from a publication by McKinsey in the past 1 or 2 weeks, right, around how do they advise individuals, countries, and companies to attack this. And they broke it down into 5 phases. People are going to go through 5 phases, and how you handle each of these is going to determine how you come out of this crisis. The first one is what a lot of us have done so far, right? struggling. Initially, there's the initial period of denial. And then after that, you start with the first phase of resolve, right? This has happened. It doesn't seem to be going away. So business starts scrambling. How do we make business continuity plans? How do people work from home? What do people need to work from home? How do we ensure our employees are safe? Stuff like that. So that takes a couple of weeks, months, whatever, depending on how prepared you are as a company. There are companies who never prepared for this eventuality, and so it's tough, and so it takes them some time. But then after a while, it sinks in, and then the question is now to find our people are safe. We think there's still a business. How do we now become resilient? How do we bring in our plan Bs? How do we change and react and adapt to the ongoing situation, right? And so that's going to happen over the next few weeks, months, depending on how long lock-ins last in different places, right? And so that's that resilience. And this phase is going to be very definitive in terms of how you react to this phase, determines whether you can move on to the next phase, which is the return phase, right? Because if some companies are definitely going to die in this resilience phase because they have not built resilience or adaptability into their businesses. More than as lockdowns are reduced, as people start moving from lockdowns to curfews or even opening up some aspects of the economy. Like I think Germany that's going to open up schools and a few ones in May. So you're going to start seeing this phase return, even in the absence of a vaccine. And so you're going to have people reassessing their business systems and say, okay, which ones are ready to move to production? Which ones are we ready to restart? Which ones are we going to abandon? And so, but now you get to the next phase, and that's where you go to determine, decide between the winners. Some people are going to go in and die during the resilience phase. Some people are going to make it out of the resilience phase and just go back to return without retooling, without repurposing, and without reimagining things, because they think we just had an interlude and we're going to go back to the what was before. However, they're going to be disappointed because they're going to see that things have actually changed, not just for the short term, but actually for the long term. And so if you're unable to reinvent yourself or make use of this period, it's going to affect how you succeed going forward. And lastly, it's about reform, right? Businesses are going to reform, countries are going to reform, supply chain is going to change globally, right? There were dependencies on a few countries to produce a large part of the countries of the essentials of the world. That's going to change, right? There are countries who I will mention that did not invest in their local health sectors. That has to change. The nature of education has to change. So a lot of things are going to change around the world. And so you need to do reform, from identity reform to health reform to local manufacturing reform to supply chain reform. And the question is now going to be, how is your business being repurposed, being reimagined to anticipate those challenges, those changes, those reforms, and optimize and taking an advantage of them as you go forward. So again, that's the things that are going to inform your new mindset and how you participate, how you perform in each of these different phases affects the next, and your ability to actually emerge from this as a newer, stronger company. So next slide. So I got this, so I was on the call webinar yesterday. I've been on thousands of webinars since this started, and I'm already over Zoomed at this point in time. But anyways, so I found this very useful from the webinar yesterday. I said, basically, how do you start? You need to get out of the marathon mentality. You're not even competing with anybody, right? So this is your new normal, right? It's going to be overwhelming. And the first thing is you yourself have to prioritize your own personal wellness, your own mental wellness. A lot of people are going to get themselves overwhelmed with the gloom, with everything, with social media, with all the craziness, and lack even the ability to actually respond appropriately. So the first step is you and your employees, you have to ensure a state of wellness from them. And then for a lot of companies, it's going to come down to cash in the bank, right? How much money do you really have, right? And so the question is, there's some companies who were lucky to raise before this and have a lot of cash in the bank. I was speaking about how do you extend that runway in the course of this presentation. But for a lot of you who struggle, who don't have the cash, you don't have the funds, the question is, how do you make that raise that money right now, even in the difficult times? How do you find money to keep going? And what I say is you start with your existing support group. Who are your current believers who have seen you perform before? Who are your current investors or friends or supporters? That's where you start from. And whatever cash they can put down to this business in the form of a loan, investment, whatever form it is, right? And then you now leverage on that to actually do a match, right? And say, okay, fine, can they bring in some of their own friends, some of their own networks to actually bring in, to match some of their own investments, right? Then you also turn to your customers. Can they order for the future right now, right? So if you're selling shoes and nobody's wearing shoes now, well, can you do a discount and where they actually pay for shoes now, but then get the shoes after this is all done? You have secured, that means you have secured the revenue and you can keep alive, right? Can you discount future purchase orders, right? Just to get cash right now. Again, any funding commitment from any money you can get in from supporters, from investors, from what's it called, from your clients, right? Against the future is money that means you are alive now, even if you have to take a discount on it. Again, cash is king at this point in time. Then for those who cannot help you with their with funds, are they able to advocate for you, get some support for you? Whether it's grant money that's in there, there's a lot of grant applications I've seen around, right? And I can share a list with those who registered later. But different aspects of this crisis. And so the question is, how do you leverage all of that to go on? And of course, how do you cut costs? And we're going to go through that soon. So again, that's how you start. Then that takes me to so having impressed upon you how dire this situation is, how gloomy it could be, hopefully. The question is, what do you do differently? And so it comes to my first step I told you I'm going to give you 2 steps. The first one is repurpose. What does this mean? It means one way to survive and thrive in this time is to repurpose your existing assets and capabilities. I'm going to say that again. One way to survive and thrive in these times is to repurpose your existing assets and capabilities. So what do I mean? So you see, so yesterday I was on a call with an entrepreneur from Kenya, and what she has is a platform for physical fitness. So she provides support for corporate organizations to provide access to gyms and similar stuff for their employees. Now, employees are locked down for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. There's no income. What does she do? Does she wait until this is over, which may not be over soon? And so we spend the time going about 2-3 hours going over how to repurpose our assets. So we have to first do like an inventory of the assets and capabilities that the company has. And you'll be surprised, the company has built a digital platform that allows people to actually do group practices for people to socialize, to build communities around fitness. They build different platforms. Digital platforms have been used for different things in the past. And so what we're now doing with is now people are locked down at home. How do we purpose this? Firstly, for mental health. The same corporate organizations who paid you to ensure the physical health of their employees might be willing, if you have a discussion with them, to pay for counseling sessions online for the mental wellness of their employees. Right? Again, so you purpose is still on wellness. You just moved from physical wellness to mental wellness. The same thing, counseling sessions. Are there other people? Are there people who also ordinarily should have been going in to see their physiotherapists, but because of the lockdown they can't go? Can you ensure Zoom or whatever online sessions between a physiotherapist on one hand, who is now doing either a one-on-one or group with several clients at home? Again, you're still in the fitness space, but what we have done right there is repurposing your assets. One of the companies in the portfolio of venture platform, for instance, Send.ng. Send has always been in the clearing and forwarding business, right? Digitizing that, creating platforms. Now with the supply chain lockdown, what do? What they have now done is aggregating orders, health orders, medical equipment orders, and then getting planes to actually bring them into different countries. Again, they're still in the logistics business, but they're responding to the current situation right now. We have Lula, an Harambean company in South Africa. And what has Lula done? Lula was basically a shared ride business, where they had buses that transferred workers to work. Now there's a lockdown. What do? So today they are focused mostly on transferring health workers and equipment and similar stuff like that. Again, it's about looking at your assets, capabilities, and say, what can we do with the assets that we have now? Because regardless of any crisis, there's some basic things people have to do. People need to eat and survive. People need to take care of their health. People need to entertain themselves. People need to make money if they can. And so again, the question is, how do your current assets allow you to repurpose to support this? So that's going to be key going forward, that you actually are able to leverage your assets to actually go forward and repurpose existing assets to achieve this. So again, as you have to do a thought exercise yourself and say, what existing assets do we have? What does it give us ability to do? And over the next couple of months, you have to be able to shift the use of these assets, ensuring that you're helping people to stay alive, you're helping people to make money, you're helping people to eat, you are helping people to entertain themselves or to learn, right, while logged in, or to move food or health-related logistics. Again, so those are very key. You also have people who were providing corporate lunches and now shifting to home lunches and stuff like that. You have people who were fabricators, plexiglass fabricators, and now they're making face shields and panels to protect people. You have people who are also leveraging their fabric, who were tailors, and now providing nose masks and the rest. So again, the question is, how do we repurpose that by going from B2C to B2B to B2G, or whatever way around that brings in revenue for you? Okay, so I think that's what I want to touch about on repurpose. And if there's specific questions, we can go back to that. Can you still see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
Right on.
Okay, cool. So the next thing I want to go to, hold on. Okay. 1 minute. Okay. So the next thing I want to go to after a purpose is what so now I want to talk about strategy. Right? But before I talk about strategy, I think it's going to be important that we understand the macroeconomy we're dealing with and the micro situations and how we're going to create strategies to meet that. Okay, sorry, I think I lost that one. Sure. Okay, so the first thing I want us to put our mind around is how long this is going to last. I've seen different people say, okay, it's just a week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks. So when I say how long is this going to last, I don't mean just a lockdown, because lockdown is just a small part. It's just an attempt by governments to actually slow and stem the tide, the flow of this crisis. But as a business, you're looking at how long is it going to last economically? How long is the effects of this going to last? And again, if history is anything to go by, the average length of recessions has been at least 12 months. And it's not 12 months to get back to where you were. It's 12 months to say, you know what, the recession has stopped. Now we can start growing again. So we are going to be in this for a long while, the economic effects of this, like I said. And because there are loops, right? So it's you see small businesses not being able to work, you see people not being able to earn, you see jobs being lost, which affects how much money is moving in the economy. And then over time, that ends up driving the economy down, right? And so this is going to be extended. And as entrepreneurs, very optimistic entrepreneurs, we're going to be watching for different signals. And one of the things you don't want to do, especially as an investor, is fall into false bottoms, right? So you're going to be periods where you think the economy has restarted and then a new wave of infection comes in or something else happening. And because right now it's compounding. So when you look at previous recessions, they were mostly financial. But now you have something also tied to health. So you're looking at, can the health system cope with what we have? Then you're looking at, even after government gives a stimulus, when are they going to find vaccines? Because I remember back in 2008, 2010, right? Once they started injecting money into the big companies that were too big to fail, in quotes, and individuals, started seeing some signs of recovery. But now, even after the government has injected money in there, the question is, until they find a vaccine or a cure, we are still at risk. And so that affects the economy and pervades throughout. And I know for a lot of companies, they're also thinking, maybe we're not especially for those who are just starting out as startups. They're thinking, maybe this is not going to affect us. We're not raising money now. We're not doing an IPO now. So again, as soon as we have our customers, we're fine. Even for the best of companies who have not been directly impacted, it's going to it's what we call a domino effect, right? And so you're going to have public companies tank, right, because of consumer confidence, and the shares, price of the shares go down. It affects the amount of money and interest in late-stage companies who want to IPO. It affects the amount of money and interest that investors are going to put in because they're looking at the companies down the line. And again, so it all affects everyone, right? Just the same way when there are a lot of IPOs, the positivity of it also affects even companies that are just raising their seed rounds. So the same way, this is going to affect everyone. And so the question is, how do you respond? So a lot of people are like, okay, let's wait this out. What some people say, let's do something very drastic. And so so for the next part, a lot of my resources are taken from firstround.com, which is a group of investors, very experienced investors, and there's been a lot of materials put together around responding. So I've taken some of them from that, which I think will be useful for this. So again, so they advise and say you need to move quickly, but very smartly, very prudently. Mentally, sometimes we think, okay, I won't take any decision now. But the fact that you're not taking a decision right now is actually a decision you're taking. Right? Your no decision is actually a decision. And so the question is, you have to react, but you have to act very smartly, right? So like the topic of the seminar says, business unusual. You cannot actually still rely on your business usual before the pandemic, and I'll explain why. So I'll explain why with this concept of the aperture. Well, when you're making decisions, you're actually doing that through what we call a decision aperture. So in a normal market, before the crisis struck, as an entrepreneur, you would ordinarily have assessed the different things you're aware of, your capital market, what's your demand, what's the size of the market, what's the competition doing, what's your supply chain, and then you make bets. And you can easily revise your bets over time. And so because you are, over time, you have that flexibility to react to situations. And what it does is it reduces the aperture of your decisions, and actually grants you greater accuracy. But what's happened right now is that in a situation like this, where there's so many unknowns. You don't know if this is going to be a 90-day recovery. You don't know whether this is going to last 1 year, 6 months. You don't know whether this is going to lead the world into like multiple year recessions. And so what that does is widens your decision aperture and it reduces the accuracy of your decision making, and that's why you're going to need to have multiple scenarios to deal with what you're going to be facing. So again, a couple of key advice: beware of the dangers of delay. Doing nothing is not a decision, right? So when you say you're not doing anything, okay, we're not taking a decision. I was with a group of some entrepreneurs 3-4 days ago. I was asking them, imagine it was, let's plan for this. And they were saying, what, we'll still watch this for another month or two, and they will take a decision. Well, you can't do that, because by not actively acting right now, that's a decision. You are saying you're going with business as usual. You are saying you're not recognizing what is changing in the market. And well, that has a cost to it. One big cost is your burn rate. If you're still paying your employees the same thing, still having zero revenue, still burning money on CapEx, and still doing every simple thing you were doing before this crisis struck, and you have not made any decision right now, then by the time it's time to take a decision, it might be too late for you. So you don't have to wait for a quarter to see where this goes. You don't have to wait for a month or 2 months or 3 months. Right now, you need to be sitting down with your management team and we're working your plans. All the plans you have for the year, for the quarter, for the next quarter, this is the time you need to be working them. Because while you were not seeing the impact of this crisis yet directly, it's affecting the macro indices. And over time, that's very sure to affect you. But by that time, you will not have the flexibility to respond again. And so I will now take us to into a working session, which I hope will be very useful for you. Because while I cannot work with each of you individually around how do you plan, how do you repurpose your plan, and I've seen a lot of the questions that have come in have been about how do we retool our plan, what do we need to do differently around revenue, around our strategy, around our OPEX and CAPEX. So what I've taken now, I've taken a case study that we're actually going to walk through it, and hopefully you find value in as you apply those same techniques to your business. So this is the goal we want to get to. You want to ensure that at the end of your plan, you can come up with a plan that hopefully your company has at least about 24 months of runway. That if this continues to have a recessive effect for the next 2 years, how do we survive? And I will take us through how this was achieved, but let me quickly explain what this means. So if you look at this, the first yellow sector, where it is 22 months, it means as of today, pre-crisis, the plan that we had, the OPEX plan we had, the spending plan we had, versus the revenue plan we had, would have taken us 22 months. So if revenue was coming in, and we also at the same level as which we had before this crisis, and we also had an OPEX that we're spending at the same level, would have a runway for 22 months, right? We'll survive for 22 months. But then you now start looking, what does that mean? If we're still spending the same way, but our revenue goes down by just 10%, that means our runway goes from 22 months to 18 months. What about if our revenue goes same OPEX, we've not laid anybody off, we're still paying the rent, we're still paying all those things, but our revenue goes down by 30%, right? Then your runway can only take you for 12 months, and then 8 months if there's no revenue, right? And this is even if you, right, already had cash in the bank. I know a lot of companies who in the first 2 weeks of this have already lost 50% of their revenue. So they can't even last this long. And so they start tweaking with this, right? Okay, fine. If we still have the same plan of revenue and we try to cut costs, see where we can cut our OPEX by 10%, suddenly go from lasting 22 months to 24 months. Then now we know revenue is not going to be the same. So let's take the case where our revenue goes down by 30%, and we'll cut down OPEX by 30%, right? We'll get 22 months. Let's say, okay, no revenue, right? But we're going to be at, 28 months before that with OPEX cut. So it gives us to 18 months. Again, you have to sit down with your financial team and tweak this around and see, okay, where do we need to cut? How much revenue loss are we going to experience? And what does this mean? You should not be shocked when you run out of money. You should already be aware and say, okay, at this current rate of spending, at this rate of 10% reduction in revenue or no revenue for the next 3 months, this is when we're going to die. If you are not doing that right now, you are doing yourself a big disfavor, because you're going to have what you call untimely death in Nigeria, sudden death, and that should not happen. This is the time you should be doing that plan. So how do you get through this? How do you actually create a matrix like this? So next slide. Okay, yeah. So as entrepreneurs, as founders, ordinarily your job is always about looking at the future, imagining a future that isn't, and say, okay, if the future looks like this, what would it be? And so what you're doing right now is trying to look at the different scenarios for your country. Okay, what about if Nigeria shuts down for 1 month, for 2 months, for 3 months? What happens if, well, we get in Lagos and Kano gets really affected and we have to shut down for 6 months? What happens if the Naira gets the value to 450, to 500? What happens if XYZ? The different scenarios, right? So you have to think about for your country, for your economy, for your company, how do they survive and thrive, right? And you have to basically plan for the worst case, but also hope and position yourself for the best case scenario. And so we're going to go through a scenario, a situation where you're actually having a worst case scenario plan, you're having a best case plan, but you're also having something that's in the middle. So these are the 5 steps I'm going to take you through for scenario planning. And I'm going to walk you through each of them with an example. So the first one is this. You have to identify your key uncertainties. What are the 6 to 10 key uncertainties that have been introduced by COVID for your next year planning? So a couple of things from whether it's the ability to find a vaccine, right, or lack of a vaccine, right? The supply chain, the okay, one moment, okay, Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So you have to identify about 6 to 10 uncertainties introduced by COVID to affect your planning. So for instance, how is the public health response going to be? So in your country and globally, right? So is the US going to be able to respond and stem the tide? Is Nigeria going to be able to respond, right, and control the virus? Will the economic stimulus being introduced by the various governments, will it have an effect on small businesses? Will social distancing policies have an effect on how your customers approach your business? So for instance, if you have a gym, right, and the company, even when the economy is opened, the government says you have to keep social distance. You know that's going to have a lasting effect on your behavior, the behavior of your customers if you run a gym, right? So everyone's list is going to be different. So you have to focus and come up with the 6 to 10 uncertainties that you think will have the most profound impact on your company's prospects, right? And this could go from microeconomic to epidemiological uncertainties to those directly affecting your what's it called? Your customers, your business, yourself. And the next thing is you have now to group them into scenarios. So you use combinations of the outcomes from your first list and create about 3 or more scenarios. Usually I advise people to do a best case, a worst case, and one that's just in the middle, right? That splits the difference. So you have to think through each scenario and say, okay, fine. What does the best case scenario look like for us? What does the worst case scenario look like for us? And then once you do that, you now move on to the third step, right? So which is about crafting responses. So if you have the best case scenario about where the world is heading to, where our business is heading to, the question is now what? Regardless of whatever happens, the future is going to favor companies that move fast. And so the question is now, how do you do this, right? So how do you respond to each of the scenarios you have created? And I have to say this, as you move to step 4, you're looking for 3 trigger points, right? You are thinking, what triggers me going to adopting the actions I've identified for best case? What are going to be my triggers, internal and external, for adopting my worst case, for adopting my middle case, right? And as General Eisenhower was supposed to have said, that it is the planning process itself, not the actual plans that are indispensable. Your plans are not going to be 100%, but just the process of planning, the thinking process, the planning process, that is what actually helps you prepare. Because these scenarios are going to change, but at least to change them and to monitor for these triggers is what's going to actually help you to respond. And of course, because this is a changed situation, as people say from a WHO stand, 6-7 weeks ago, they said, don't use masks, it's not needed. We are moved to today where New York is saying it's mandatory. It is mandatory for you to use, what's it called? To use masks, right? And so the question is, how do you respond? How are you able to tweak your plans as you go ahead with this? And of course, so again, being able to revise, it could be weekly revision, it could be daily, it could be monthly, it could be 2 weeks. Again, as things change in your own, what's it called? In your own environment, you have to be able to respond to those. So again, these are the 5 key steps, and we're going to now take an example business, and over the next 5 minutes or so, we'll walk through how they actually went through these steps and the plans they were able to produce at the end of the day. Okay, so at the end of the day, you're going to have, when you come up with the 5 different steps, you should end up with something like this that helps you look at what's your worst case, what's your middle case, what's your best case, what's going to be your game plan for each of those cases, in what direction are you going to head your product, how is that going to affect your head count. So best case would be, we'll retain everybody. Worst case would be, we're stacking 50%, we're stacking 70%, we're laying off. How do you revise it? What are your revised revenue targets? And then how much runway do you end up with in each case? Are you still with me? Nkechi, we're doing well? Did I manage everyone?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
cool,
we are
cool.
with you.
Okay, so now that I hope everyone understands these tools. What we want to do right now is to take a fictional company. Again, this is all for the sake of fiction. This represents no particular company. But I think in going through this example.
We're with you.
Hello? Okay, I'm going to keep going. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to go through this business that's
Yes, kindly
a
go on. We're on track.
communication service that has been impacted by this crisis, and we're going to look through how they went through these 5 steps and what they came up with at their own plans. Okay, so remember the first step. Our first step is we're going to identify the key uncertainties. And so they're asking themselves, as a catering service, will public health response be able to effectively and rapidly control this virus? Is NCDC up to the task, right? Or whatever the public health group responsible in your country is for, right? Are they able to so for instance, Nigeria now is at is it 400, 440, right? Is it going to stop at 450? Is it going to go to 500? Are you going to start seeing thousands like other countries, right? So that determines whether you're thinking of a best case, worst case, middle case. Then different countries are introducing stimulus, right? Nigeria is introducing money to its conditional cash transfer. People are distributing food. How long can they do that for? Does that have an effect? Is the shutdown, lockdown? Lagos has locked down for 2 weeks and another 2 weeks. Abuja has been locked down. Kano is embarking on lockdown. Do these interventions, will they prevent or will they actually create long-lasting structural damage to the economy? When people return to, will people even return to the economy, to the workplace soon, in 2 weeks' time, in 4 weeks' time? If they return, are there going to be additional guidelines, use of masks, social distancing, stuff like that? Now, as the fictional supply company does not cook the food themselves, they buy the food from restaurants and they supply corporate offices. Now, if restaurants are closed long term, how does that affect their own supply chain? If Kano closes down, how does that affect them bringing food in? If Tunis closes down, how does that affect the food items that are gotten from Tunis, right? If Kano closes down, where do they get fresh vegetable from? Again, then also, people working at home, they continue to work at home for a long period. How does that affect their consumption patterns? People you were supplying food twice a day, start saying, you know what? I'm getting fat. I don't really need food more than once a day. Maybe they now want to, they stayed home for 3-6 months and they now learned to cook. Now they go back to work and they don't want you to supply them anymore. They want to be cooking their food. How does that affect their consumption patterns? And also your drivers who are going to deliver for them. How do the guidelines, how will they impact their own health, right? You've seen this DoorDash in the US now, where drivers are asking for more money because they're the ones who are, as people are staying at home and delivery is being done through drivers, they are the ones who have been exposed to sick people, and so they are asking for huge for some money, right, for that. So the question is, can your company afford that if you're in the food delivery business, right? And so are there going to be new regulations introduced by the health authorities that will impact you, right? Again, it differs for each business, but that's the first step. You have to be able to identify key uncertainties. So let's say we have gone through that. And based on that, we now arrive at these 3 scenarios. So the worst case scenario is to say, you know what, we have a very bad case in the country, in the city, whatever your business is. And so people are forced to stay at home for a year. Or, maybe it could be okay, they were forced to stay at home for 1 month, then they were allowed to come back for 2 weeks, then things got really bad, then it was shut down again, and you have that ping-pong scenario. And because of that, what happens? You have very severe effect on your business. Most of the restaurants that you buy food from, they go out of business because they can't produce, can't find the raw materials. And so in 12 months' time, the worst scenario is workers go back to the office, but now they don't want your catered meals anymore because companies are just barely struggling to survive. And they can't even provide free food anymore, right? And I used to say this, I used to be in the oil and gas industry, and the way you would know whether there was a recession or whether the oil price had fallen was whether the company was still providing you with free lunch during meetings. If you were having business meetings and you were getting free lunch from the company, that means things were going well. The first thing that was usually caught was those free lunches in a bad situation. And so if that happens and companies are struggling to survive and they slash down on all these extras, that affects you. So that's the worst case for scenario for this company. And we're going to see in future slides how they respond to this. So let's go to a best case scenario. A best case scenario is that everything that's been done by NCDC, by NIH, by whatever NHS is very effective. And by another 3-4 weeks, the virus goes away, they find a vaccine or something happens, and we're able to weather the storm. Yeah, it's going to affect some businesses, but maybe about 10 to 15% of our partners or our supply chain is disrupted. Maybe, what's it called? Our consumption patterns are still the same. Maybe demand is unchanged. So that's the best case. So it's the old normal, right? It's as was with some little changes. And then look at the middle case, where you know what? They get control of it, but it takes some time, right? So some states lift the lockdown, some states don't lift the lockdown. Some offices return, essential offices return, schools return. Some offices don't return. Again, so it takes time. Some businesses go out of order, some other streams. So you get it, right. So again, you find a mid-case scenario, and how you react to each of these scenarios is going to be very different. Okay, so that's step 2. You have in step 1, you've identified your different uncertainties. You have put them in buckets. You have used that to leverage to create your 3 scenarios. Then we'll now go to scenario 3. Let's see, where is this? Okay. So step 3, you now have to craft responses to each of these scenarios. So take the next no return scenario. The worst case, where things are shut down for a year. So you have to, what's my game plan? Okay, my game plan is survival. It's not even about thriving. It's not even about being, all these fancy things and going in businesses. If this is shut down, the economy is shut down for a year, how do I survive? That's the first thing. I want to find a way that I can survive for the next 1 to 3 years. And so that forces a very radical mind shift. Because now if you think based on the indicators you have seen that the worst case scenario is going to happen, then you know that your corporate catering is no longer sustainable and cannot see you through the next 3 years. Then you have to quickly think of how do you pivot to home delivery. How do you now start serving people on the front line? People are still working, whether it's the essential workers and in the health sector, in the construction sector, they come off sectors are left, right? So if you were the fancy, I was serving Google Office, I was serving Microsoft Office. Maybe now it's to serving all the construction workers. And of course that changes. So if you're serving all these fancy plates with jollof rice and stuff like that, maybe that's serving amala or hummus or bread or whatever the construction workers are going to eat. Again, it forces a product action. Your product has to change, your customers change. Then you have to now say, okay, what does that mean? It probably means no revenue for the next 1 year, 2 years. How do you survive? What if you're not able to find enough customers for your pivots, right? What does that mean for your headcount? That means your headcount has to be slashed, right? You have to freeze hiring, and you have to now calculate your burn, right? So if I go to the minimal burn, what's going to be my minimal burn just to survive for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years? Very radical, but I know at least 10 companies as we're speaking right now that are speaking to that have to do this. If they don't do this, if they do anything fancier than this, they are going to die. Okay, then we'll go to the next one, which is the soft rebound with the middle case. Okay, so like we said, again, if you remember in the previous slide, this middle case is where, we're able to come back, but it takes a while for us to come back, right? And then things don't go back to full normal. It takes a while. We lose some businesses. So in this case, you still have a business, but you're not to grow your existing businesses, right? So you still want to, maybe you're still staying in the same product line, but your mind shift now is exploring different categories. So you're still doing your corporate food, but now you're adding other categories to it, right? And then look at what does that mean for your revenue. So you have to adjust your revenue expectations, your plans. You have to adjust your head count, and then of course now target what's going to be my burn and how many months does that last me. And of course we go to the current one. But the best case is where we locked down for a while, but things get to be fine afterwards. I don't think this is going to happen, but again, but if it happens, you also need to be prepared for that. So you need to increase your product focus. You need to look for new behaviors from your clients and adjust to that. But you're going to need to do some money. Regardless of what happens, at least 50% of your planned revenue is going away. And so you might have to also get rid of some stuff and then adjust your burn and your runway. Again, in each of these cases, we're looking for how do you last for 24 months, for 30 months, for 36 months. So that's step 3. You're crafting the responses. Step 4 is, for you to do step 3 very well, you have to understand your trigger points for the country, for your economy, for your own particular sector, right? That's how you know, okay, do I put the worst case scenario into action? Do I look at the middle case? Do I look at the best case? All those earlier plans don't help you if you're not able to be focused and identify what are the trigger points. So for instance, for this business, one trigger point is lockdown. If there's a continued lockdown, then there's a worst case scenario. Well, if people are able to return back after a month or two, right, then that has to say how severe was this. If restaurants that you get food from shut down, if laundries that you use shut down, right, again, you have to be able to adjust and observe. You have to be very keen and look at market indices and see how is that affecting you, right? So for them, for instance, if people go back to work by June, right, if restaurant shuts down this much, they can say, okay, fine, this is my middle case. Or best case, by next month, by next week, if things go back to normal, if the cases are shut down, if lockdown is going down, again, in your own different scenario, in your own different sector, you have to be able to figure out what are the trigger points that are going to show me when I trigger this. For your worst case, how do you survive up to 3 years? That's zero revenue for the next 18 months. Who do you need to lay off? Yeah, that's almost have a priority list of your employees and say, okay, if I'm adopting this worst case plan, I'm going to lay off these particular 10 employees because I don't need them. If it's a middle plan, I'm leaving on these 5 ones. If it's the best case, maybe it's this one guy who has not been optimal, right? And so again, what does this mean for your account? What does it mean for your runway? This is a very dynamic tool that you and your management team has to have. And as news comes in from the government actions, CBN actions, central bank actions, stimulus actions, lockdown, vaccine, everything, you have to rejig this plan and revise and repeat. Okay, so yeah. So to summarize again, the idea was to actually be able to give you a sense of how gloomy this could be, give you tools on how to think through repurposing your business, and also how do you create different scenarios and react to them. So at this point in time, I think I would stop now. We have probably 8-10 minutes left. Look at the questions and see what I have not touched with the questions and respond to that. Okay, let's see if I'm not lost everybody yet. So let's see.
We're with you.
Okay, so let's see. Wow, 35 minutes. Okay, let me quickly glance through these questions and see where we are. Okay, let's see. Let's see the slide. Okay, with the situation, if double crisis, pandemic and recession, what do you think will be the coping plans for enterprises working to provide important amenities, food and health to consumers at the base of the pyramid, since their disposable income is low and working capital for enterprises is going lean? How can businesses adapt their cost and revenue models? Very good question. So if you are serving the bottom of the pyramid and your people are, for instance, they're daily workers, they're not earning income, at this point in time, as you go, you have to leverage and start saying, again, you have to start differentiating between your customer and your consumer. So what do I mean? The person who is consuming your final product does not necessarily have the person who pays for it. And so your own duty is to find who pays for it. So whether it's going to be government, whether it's going to be just doing CSR, banks, telcos, there's a lot of that money flowing around, grants. So again, you have to get paid to survive. So as an enterprise serving the bottom of the pyramid, you can't just give out your items for free at this point because you need to survive yourself. Maybe it's discounted, but the idea is you have to find someone who pays for it. You have to find how you retain your products, how do you cut down your OPEX so that you can deliver at lesser cost, right? So cut down costs, because you're going to have a reduced clientele, but you have to actively now look for who pays for it. So for instance, you're providing food or essential items to bottom of the pyramid folks. Can you get other people who are going to actually pay to distribute to those people? Again, you have to see what you do differently around that. Okay, so yeah, okay, the long matrix sheet, yeah, sure. I'll provide the matrix sheets to the organizers, and they can share with you guys. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so no other questions there. Let me take some other questions that have been sent previously and see which ones I haven't covered. Okay, so This one says, looking at our local realities, can one run a business without some form of government patronage? It's tough, right? Again, so what I usually advise people is ensure your clientele is diversified. So even if B2B is your mainstay, it doesn't hurt to add some B2C and to also add some B2G on the side. You never know, right? Sometimes governments will be the ones in problem, and then you rely on the other ones. So I think one of the things we have learned, we are learning from this ongoing crisis, which is not over, by the way, is that we have to diversify our clientele, diversify your supply source. For instance, governments are realizing that too. A lot of, for instance, 95%, I think about 60 to 90% of face masks made in the world are made in Malaysia. So Malaysia had its own case, and everything, couldn't make masks again. And so you're now having companies in Nigeria making masks. Companies in Tunisia, there was a group of women who locked themselves up, and they were producing about 150,000 face masks daily in Tunisia. Right? So you're seeing that even the US is realizing that. So again, it's not just as a business was diversify. Even governments are realizing that they have to diversify. Okay, so I think I've spoken about this one. Moving forward, businesses would have to completely adopt new method of sales. Right? Yeah. So I think one of the things, talking about new method of sales, people, if you are a business that was largely face-to-face before, you have to now start thinking of a digital presence, right? And leveraging digital tools to actually reach your people. I've seen this, right? So I've seen people who were delivering food, so who were selling meat before, and now saying, okay, fine, if you go online to our website or you send a text to us, we deliver to your place. For instance, I'm part of we own a ranch, Ayodeji farms in Lafayette, and what we used to do was literally just sell at our farm. Now we are actually having people come to our website to actually order for meat, and because we are regarded as essential workers, meat marts can actually deliver to people. And also you actually have a situation where at selected meat mart locations in Lagos, people are actually going to buy the meat. Again, so as a business, you have to adapt and leverage digital tools to this. Okay, plan. Okay. How will SME survive if the lockdown extends beyond April 2020? It's most likely going to extend in some form. Might not be full lockdown, but I think I've seen some of the steps you can take. And again, you have to reevaluate. So again, the problem I have is a lot of people are only thinking of best case. I've met with several startups in the last 1 week, and they're all just waiting for lockdown to remove. Even if lockdown goes away, businesses are not returning back to normal. Life is not back to normal because the crisis is still on. So you have to also prepare other scenarios. If you're just waiting on lockdown to be lifted and waiting for best case scenario, you are almost dead, right? You're almost getting yourself to that. Someone said, can you recommend a good business idea that's a lucrative post-COVID-19 period? If I knew, I wouldn't tell you. But that's fine. Again, different things. Just look at the essentials. What's essential? What do people need to entertain themselves, to eat, to in this period, right? So the essentials, things related to health. For instance, they were complaining about businesses going down. Businesses in the pharmacy sector are doing very well. Businesses in the education sector are doing very well. Okay, companies are important. That is importation from China and UK and US. How do they survive? Find something else. Find somewhere else to import. Find something else to sell. Find other supply chains. See whether you can actually grow local manufacturing and support. For instance, there's a team I'm part of that actually went from 3D printing of face shields. Now they're working with local plastic manufacturers in Lagos to actually mass produce the face shields. Again, there's always a way around these things. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough. Businesses are going to die, but some are going to thrive and succeed. I think I've managed to cover all the questions I have there. So.
Idris, there's some questions in the comments. You have some new questions in the comment. You can just check.
Okay, so let's see.
You have a question there as well.
Okay, current version. Let's see. I run a small shoe production. After the second week of lockdown, advertisement of our old stocks on Facebook at cheaper rates in order to stay afloat and to clear workers' outstanding wages. Though I got few positive feedbacks, but also got many negative feedbacks. People are complaining why I have to advertise at this point in time. I try to explain it. Yeah, again, people are going to say what they're going to say. You have to survive. So again, find your means of advertising. If you have to do a discount, do a discount. If you have to DHL it to them, if you have to have them buy at half the price and then pick it afterwards, You have to survive. I don't think you are on Facebook to respond to how people who are not putting money in your pocket feel about your adverts. As long as it's on your page and you're not doing rudely in different groups. We'll have on Twitter, on Facebook, where you post a very serious topic and someone goes under each comment and is advertising shoes and bags. I hope it's not that. As long as it's not that, on your own business page, on Instagram, on Facebook, you can advertise the way you can advertise. Okay. In case you have another question, I think we've hit the 1 hour mark.
Yes, we have. Thank you so much, Idris, for taking out the time. It's been so packed with so much information. My book is filled with notes. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Thank you for taking out time to answer the questions and for the slides. On behalf of the entire Ventures Park community, we want to say thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I showed my email earlier, so I'm on Twitter at Idris Bello. So if you have a specific question, you can DM me on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or anywhere. So on my website, idrisbello.com, so you can check there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Venture Platform. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone that also attended. Was truly grateful to have you. Thank you for paying attention, taking notes, tweeting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We do all this because of you guys, because we want to make sure that you survive and come out of this stronger, better. We're in this together. So thank you so much for showing